So let's get on to the class. I just wanted to do give you a quick overview of sort of where we are in the scheme of things now. So we're nearly finished with the exploratory data analysis stuff. That's important and useful in itself because that's something you have to do in a real workplace. And these days, it's an almost automatic expectation by employers that you're able to do some of that stuff. I just hear this again and again and again, and I supervise interns, and it's very, very common for employers to say, "Hey, we've got some data. You're a fresh uni graduate from top university. Go and do something with it." And sometimes their expectations are unrealistic, but the first thing you ought to be doing is some exploratory data analysis to see if you can get some ideas about what's going on with the data. So that's one reason we do it. But the other reason is it's enabled us to cover or at least introduce the building blocks of things that we will need later in the course. So these are the building blocks for the material on statistical inference and correlation and causation. So that's taken together. That's how we sort of link data with evidence of causation, which is what the consequences part of decision making is all about. So we'll be using the stuff that we've covered in the exploratory data analysis content again and again, and I hope it will become more familiar to you as you keep using it. So we've pretty much covered that. Next week, well, today we'll do a little bit more on linear models and correlation and regression, and there's one little topic on that I'll keep for next week. For the multi-criteria decision making, we'll pretty much wrap that up today. The one thing that I'll hold over till next week will be the hierarchy part of the analytic hierarchy process. But I don't think that will take terribly long to deal with. And later in the course, we may look at some other examples of it, the sort of general principles of aggregating evidence, but we're pretty much done with that. In the tutorial tomorrow, we're going to be looking at a pretty high level, as in from the top management journal, quantitative paper, which is about learning and strategy. And in looking at that, we'll actually be able to use some of the things that we've talked about correlation and linear models and so on, because that paper actually uses a linear model. It's much more complex than the ones we've talked about, but some of the key principles are exactly the same. So that's pretty much where we are. Yes, test coming up next week, but you'll be hearing more about that over the coming days.